Welcome back, everyone, to Brussels, Belgium, and our second game between the KOO Tigers and Fnatic. KOO Tigers are on the board 1-0. We're swapping sides here. Fnatic moving to the red side. Krepo, this is the one team that we've seen abandon or at least try and separate the two power picks of GP and Mord from the red side. What are you expecting to see here this time around?
Yeah, last game, obviously, KOO were on the red side, and they banned out Gangplank, Mordekaiser, Elise, the three best bans you could potentially do. I don't think Fnatic will repeat this. They seem really comfortable just hitting key picks in opposing team strategies. Sadly for them, KOO's champion pools are pretty deep overall, but I think this may be a game where Gangplank won't get through, but Mordekaiser may get through, and we'll have to see how well Prey has potentially played that, because Reckless has been spamming it over in Korea when he was in the boot camp, and we'll need to see if KOO is afraid of this, if they're going to change their ban strategy. At the other hand, though, they were comfortable playing whatever champions were left open, so they may actually just be fine banning these champions on blue side.
So let's zero in on one of those matchups, the top lane, Smeb versus Huni. Smeb came out swinging and basically saying, I don't care, I'm going to pick Riven blind into Huni.
I mean, Fnatic did this actually in the quarterfinal match as well. That's very cocky to blind pick a Riven in that way, but Smeb is very confident in his skills against Huni, and it really showed. I think Huni, he got delayed because he had to build that Frozen Heart, couldn't build that Trinity Force faster, and Smeb had some great TPs, multi-kills on this Riven. He's a very, very, very good Riven player.
I'm really glad that we got to see like Smeb doing what he does, like doing really, really, really well on Riven. And then I'm also glad we got to see Fnatic. Rek'Sai did get that gank off, so they did have slightly better synergy, but we still saw Smeb taking control of the Riven, and I was just happy we saw both sides.
Yeah, a lot of things went to chalk, or at least how we expected. KOO coming out on top, though, and that's a crushing blow for Fnatic. To be up 7-8K gold at one point and be in control of that game and have it fall from grasp. Probably, what would you be looking for this team to do on a larger scale in order to secure a victory this time around if they can create that lead?
Well, Fnatic kind of tunnels on these like theme comps, I guess I'll call it, because they're not really well-rounded. Like in that comp, for instance, they didn't have any wave clear. They didn't really have much AoE besides like the LeBlanc distortion. So I really want to see more well-rounded ones that have some kind of wave clear, some kind of like peeling in a team fight potential, and not just all in, we're going to press R and kill one guy, which is what their comps normally look like.
And I think Fnatic should go back to double teleport. We saw what KOO can do it in a late game. If Fnatic are playing these crazy engage compositions where they have a lot of crowd control, adding another dimension in terms of flanking with that teleport could be maybe not so much on a LeBlanc, but if everyone ends up on a different champion, I just want to see the teleports matched at least. So even if things don't go as planned in the early snowball game, you can still match that split push, because KOO, they got a big advantage in the later parts of the mid game with those teleports.
Well, that's the question, right, for Fnatic. Are they going to do that? Because punishing the early game and nearly winning is exactly what Fnatic did. Do they want to go blow for blow on a team that I think is a better team fighting team and better at using globals than they are?
We'll see if they can leave themselves a little bit more leeway when it comes to closing out a game if they can't secure another lead. As we send it to the casters for game 2, Yellowstar tells us that when it comes to fighting KOO, you have to face them head on.
KOO is a team that likes to play around the globals. I mean, they play with double TP, with a support that can roam a lot, and he can move really fast on the map. So they really want to create skirmishes and those small fights. And I know that in 5v5, in a team fight, when it happens, they might not be as good as in skirmishes, because I've watched the games against KT, and this is where they got, they lost the game.
May have lost them games against KT, but it just won a game for them against Fnatic, the opening of the series. Prey has already got one of those books ticked, saying Fnatic take it back to the library, because once they closed that game out, the crowd was stunned. Red side picks and bans are about to jump into Officio, and we've heard Analyst Days talk about it. How does it change now for Fnatic?
Obviously, when it comes to these Mordekaiser Gangplank bans, KOO Tigers is a team who tend to ban it on blue side, especially the Mordekaiser. 8 out of 11 games now, they ban Mordekaiser themselves. Because I think due to them having a lot of, should we call them crazy picks or new picks you're not really expecting, or due to them trusting their ability to play more standard compositions, they don't need to trade like a Mordekaiser for Gangplank, don't want to risk it. Seems to be the strategy they were running against KT at least, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them just ban away Mordekaiser and Gangplank potentially themselves.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that Fnatic has a pretty evolved strategy for the red side pick ban here, because there are so many advantages the blue side team gets, and they have to be looking at this like an away game. They have to steal a game on red side if they want to win the series. Now, they've lost their home court advantage from being the higher seed.
And in the last game, Reignover managed to get his jungle pick, the Rek'Sai. we were talking before the game, okay, what is Reynova going to play if Rek'Sai and Elise is gone? Is he going to go for that Olaf pick we've seen back in Europe? Is he going to try and play Elise in? He hasn't played it all year long, and we have to go all the way back to when he was on IM number 2 and IM number 1, he used to play it. On blue side, you should be able to secure that pick for yourself, the priority jungler, and often ban away one of them yourself, or expect Elise to be banned on red side and then you first pick a Rek'Sai. That would leave Reynova in a situation where he has to find something else to play. And this might be where we get to see what he can pull out. We saw Zach from Hojin.
Well, Zach ended up working well in the later stages of the game. Crowd is definitely trying to send their energy and love around the venue. We're going to jump into picks and bans for games 2 in just a couple of moments and see how these teams prioritize. Because the game that was remade against EDG, Fnatic left both Mordekaiser and GP through. We know KOO has had that penchant to ban it on blue side, but maybe so KOO can surprise, not ban it this time, and catch us all a little off guard.
Well, EDG saw that Fnatic were okay leaving it open and take the trade. So EDG went Mordekaiser. Normally you'd always go for Gangplank because he does really well into the Mordekaiser as well. But after EDG saw that and the remake happened, they're like, oh, we're not going to do this again.
Not worth.
They banned it on blue side, not want to risk that trade. They trusted more in their more standard picks.
Yeah, the fact, though, that you normally take Gangplank before the Mordekaiser, and even with that knowledge, Fnatic was willing to let a trade go through, means that they could be willing to let this go through once more. Reckless has played maybe more Mordekaiser than anybody else. When it first went over to Korea for his bootcamp, nearly 2 months ago when the patch first hit that they were playing Worlds on, he was first one on the train. And I think they're okay actually going into that matchup.
And I think also we have to look at Febiven in the mid lane, because Analyst just talked about how they wanted double teleport to be a thing for Fnatic. Febiven on this LeBlanc, I think we look at the last game and we look at the first 20 minutes as one game in itself. And it paid off to have offensive summoners ignite in 3 different lanes, super aggressive, try and force that 2v2 fight around the mid lane. Reynova ganked KOO like 3 or 4 times early and then invaded into the jungle. That paid off for Fnatic, and they should have been able to close that game out or gone towards the Baron and not taking these tower dives, which were so telegraphed that KOO Tigers could respond. Late game, we did see the problem, though, with double teleport. And the funny thing is, I almost feel like when Fnatic is running a more standard comp in the sense of a control mage in the mid lane with a teleport for Febiven, and a carry who can deal damage for Reckless, so it's not all about Huni snowballing. I often feel like that Fnatic team looks a little bit better in the sense that they can play more risk, or they can play more slow. They don't have to go all in the early game like we saw before.
Well, just a quick update, guys. We did have a chat to the production team and our referees and our QA off air and backstage regarding the wards that could not see each other. And when vision is unequal, a green ward can see a pink ward, but the pink ward cannot see the green ward. We will always pause. Now, when wards cannot see one another, we do not pause because of the map geometry. So when it is not clear if it is geometry or a ward bug, we will only pause if there's a severe impact on the game. In this case, each time LeBlanc roamed down, she was spotted by a KOO ward near the Dragon entrance ramp, which is why the impact was not severe and did not result in a pause.
Yeah, well, also I was going to check it in the game, and when I toggled the wards, the green ward couldn't see the pink ward, and the pink ward couldn't see the green ward, which is different than the ward that was paused in the Baron pit earlier in the tournament. Still, something to keep your eyes on.
It is, and something we'll be keeping an eye out for as we continue through this series. And of course, as we saw, it was the decision to tower dive that got punished, but LeBlanc had been spotted early. And, you know, some props to Febiven. Analyst S was talking about maybe Febiven picking up that second teleport to Fisho. What's your take on that? Is it going to be dependent very much on how much map pressure they want, or did you like the Ignite?
I think for his LeBlanc pick against the Kassadin, I think it was okay for the early game. It's a very risky strategy, obviously, for Fnatic, but they paid off for them in the early game. The reason they lost the game was not due to not having a double teleport situation. They lost the game because they went over-aggressive and went into tower dives they shouldn't have gone into. And KOO got kills, Smeb got kills from it. That was where it went really wrong. Obviously, it didn't help not having double teleport, but as I said before, I like Febiven running teleport because it means Fnatic doesn't have to go all in the early game, and they can play more for late game as well.
Well, interesting that KOO actually bans Rek'Sai here, since they would have been able to first pick it. That blocks Fnatic from forcing
they're gonna first pick
pick.
Tahm Kench for Gorilla.
Yeah, they could.
The best Tahm Kench player, in my opinion, so far at Worlds has been Gorilla. So I think this is good from KOO Tigers.
Well, also because Febiven has been assassinating so many people, but at the same time, the Blanc is already in the ban thing. I actually think if there is a weakness for Tahm Kench, it's against heavy AoE teams.
Yeah.
And since they've already banned away the best assassin, there's a chance that's what Fnatic goes for.
And we so rarely see these AoE teams, like Rumble is being played very little by Marin, basically, is the only one so far. Another thing, we haven't seen Reckless play Kalista at the World Championship yet. Fnatic is one of the teams who bans it the most. So KOO Tigers are basically saying, normally here you would pick Kalista on the side of Fnatic and be like, okay, you get Tahm Kench, we get Kalista, we have to take that trade. I wonder if Fnatic's gonna go for it this time around. If not, you risk KOO Tigers getting that one as well, and suddenly there's a lot of power picks going to their side. I think this is the perfect start for KOO Tigers.
Great first pick.
In theory, though, Fnatic should be aware of it because of the penchant that KOO Tigers have shown for Tahm. They will not go for the Kalista. It's likely giving that up to Prey and instead take the Ashe.
Yeah, we were wondering if Reckless and Prey were going to be taking away each other's favorite AD carries so far at Worlds. KOO Tigers either picked Ashe or had it banned away from them in the majority of their games. But it's not like Reckless can't play Ashe. He played it before anyone else did as far as the European LCS is concerned.
Yeah.
Played it right away in the summer split, and Fnatic can play around it quite well.
And it is a good AD carry pick into Kalista, at least when it comes to trading in the laning phase, and then level 6 trying to set up that TP gank with your arrow and use that. So Fnatic has a 2v2 lane that if they're running double teleport can be super impactful because they are so good at diving towers and setting up ganks, both Alistar and Ashe, in the way they can force the play onto KOO Tigers, then teleport in. But we do also have to see what Reignover wants to play in the jungle because we had the Rek'Sai, we had the Elise ban.
Well, you've got a number of very difficult to kill champions for KOO Tigers. Hojin will lock in Zac for his second appearance on the world stage. Kalista to follow. And the next question as well, Fnatic, will they leave that counter pick for Huni in the top lane or for Febiven in the mid lane? These next two will give us that answer.
I would prefer to see counter pick for Huni in the top lane because it's very important you can win that lane so you can transition that pressure to the bottom side where you have your Ashe and your Alistar. Azir will be a fine pick, fine blind pick in my opinion. Kassadin might come in against it though, which is a good matchup, but you can still push him down to tower.
I actually like Victor a lot more. Mainly because of how good KOO is at Victor. Now KOO did play Azir in the group stage, but as far as the summer split was concerned in the LCK, he was 0-6, and I think this denial pick provides a little bit more value. I think Azir and Victor generally fulfilled the same wave clearing role, with Azir having slightly better assassination, but Fnatic only wants... Oh man, they go for Azir anyway.
So
they only want the AoE damage.
The thing about Azir as well though against the Zac is when Zac blobs in towards you, if you can try and shoot him away with your own wall from the Azir, you can stop a lot of his crowd control from happening. Obviously you have to be very, very good, and Febiven has played a ton of Azir before and has shown good moves with it. I also just think he's basically saying it, I want to pressure this mid lane, no matter what you're playing, I'm going to push it. I'm going to push it because Skarner is a jungler. In terms of 1v1, he's pretty strong. Like when it comes to a skirmish, especially if he can fight around the crystals for himself. Ganking wise, pre-level 6 though, he's pretty useless.
We've seen Skarner once before this tournament and it left a whole lot to be desired. And we'll see how good that Impale will be. On the bright side, you have double the value. If Tahm Kench swallows somebody and you Impale a Tahm Kench,
you pull two people.
You pull two people.
Yeah.
Next level. I mean, it could be top lane Skarner if they want to surprise us, but KOO Tigers will be denying Skarner any chance of Impale. Smeb will run Fiora and say, I dare you to pick Riven. And Kuro will round out the composition with that Vigor. I really like what KOO Tigers have put together.
Few things though about KOO Tigers comp. Again, it's going to be so much about Gorilla on this Tahm Kench because we know Kuro wants to run teleport in the mid lane. Ashe is an AD carry who try to force the enemy mid laner to run cleanse. If you don't do it, obviously you're very open to get an arrow in your face and then the team fight starts and you die instantly. That's where Tahm Kench comes in once again. So we might actually see the Skarner pull back that Tahm Kench when he's eating Kuro or Prey and then kill both of them.
Yeah, I think that's honestly the idea they're going for, but that gets blocked a little bit by the Veigar pick because if Kuro is very patient with his event horizon, he can basically wait for Skarner to run in, and even if you pull him for a suppress, you're still trapping him in there as far as being able to get out of the cage. This has been his pick against Riven.
A challenge has been issued, and Riven is the answer. We all wanted this matchup to happen, and there's split opinions on who should win when it comes to players and when it comes to champions.
There's been a perception in this world that it hasn't been about 1v1s or about playing each other in lane. That is what the entire top lane has been about here at Worlds,
Non-stop.
especially in Fiora and Riven matchups, because it completely depends on the mind games between Riposte and the 2 CCs that Riven has to throw out. That is it. Not to mention the jungler pressure, the rest of the other pressure, but we will most likely see a solo kill with these two guys in this game.
Especially also because we're seeing two junglers who prefer to not be too active before that level 6 mark anyway, especially the Skarner on the side of Fnatic. So we might not get a whole lot of help for Huni up in that top lane. He's on his own. I'm more looking at Fnatic with this 2v2 lane on the bottom side, the Ashe into the Kalista, heavy CC lane. You run teleport now on Febiven as well. We just talked about how him on control mages, it gives Fnatic more ways of playing outside of just we gotta go and assassinate people all the time and we have to play super aggressive. They have late game insurance now as well. I'm looking for them to also try and make some plays around this bottom lane once Huni gets rolling.
Well, let's see if Huni can get rolling.
If he gets rolling, I think.
The Riven versus Fiora matchup has happened once before, and it was Huni's Riven that was victorious. Will that hold true against Smeb's Fiora, which is significantly stronger
It was against
than
KOO.
his previous opponent?
And KOO misplayed that matchup so badly already from level 2. Smeb won't make the same mistake.
Let's find out as we load up for game 2. The hope of Europe and the Western LCS Fnatic on the red side against Korea's KOO Tigers. Margin Boo's been swapped out for the Golden God of Zac. And Rainover is going to be playing around these Crystal Spires. Let's see how well Fnatic handle themselves, because this is a jungler we've not seen in Europe since Diamond ran it a very, very, very long time ago.
Even before he got changed. Honestly, Rainover's put in a lot of practice on Skarner. It was one of his main champions in Korean solo queue, and it's interesting that he falls back onto the Skarner instead of the Olaf, when Olaf would have been able to run through the FLICKR stuns, but I do like the idea against the Tahm Kench of still punishing him after he gobbles up an AD carry. This game is really fascinating right now. I also think it's super bold that Febiven is gone teleport against the Veigar, because if he eats an Event Horizon stun, he is completely dead. There's a lot to go on in this game.
Well, it's one of these problems for an Azir, and you have. I look at it this way: when it comes to late game, would he stay alive anyway if he ran like barrier heal? No, he would have to run cleanse then against KOO, and I think that is an okay option. But right now, what Fnatic is aiming to do is trying to match that global pressure KOO brought in game 1. And say, you know what, that was a big problem. Let's try and fix it.
I want to see how Reckless handles himself with that Hawk shot. Something that Prey has shown when he does play Ashe is proficiency not only with landing the Enchanted Crystal Arrow almost perfectly, and also keeping track of his opponent's jungler. So let's see how Reckless makes use of that ability once he ranks it up.
I want to see what Huni and Reino was doing as well. They just took a camp together. They give level 2 to Huni. Normally what happens is you go down and give a few hits to the red buff, but you make sure that Huni doesn't take too much damage, because you want him to run into the top lane. You don't want him to recall and use his teleport, because what's going to happen now, you can see Smeb is doing exactly the same on the bottom side, is you save that TP. So in case the enemy top lane had used his to make sure the jungler got a better start, had to use a potion less, you had that massive TP advantage for more potions and so on later on, which is very important. So both top laners are being set up for success right now with this start.
And neither of these junglers are going to be doing an early game gank. That much is for certain. We did see some teams before Worlds would actually sacrifice others so the jungler could have faster item spike, go invade the enemy jungler, but with this specific matchup of champions, it's the smart play to give their top laners the edge.
But it's such a fascinating one-on-one, because so many small things will be super important. One thing is that when Smeb activates his E, he gets that slow on the first attack and then the crit on the second one. The first slow even reduces attack speed. So it's very hard for Riven to do Q, auto attack, Q, auto attack, Q. It turns into basically just spamming Q straight up because your attack speed slows so much. So it's very hard to trade one-on-one. Also, the riposte against the Riven. If Riven goes for the third Q, the very long animation,
it's almost always riposte.
It's so easy to riposte for Smeb, then he wins the trade. So a lot of Riven players won't even use that third one. And they're just like, use 2 and then bounce out. So it's very, very tricky between these two guys.
Huni's already falling behind. He's used that potion. Every time we look up, Smeb is finding a way to hit that vital. Keep the sustain up. Staying even and relevant on farm, but Huni's wave will push away from him in the not too distant future. And let's see how Huni plays it. We can see the Rainover already making his way towards the top lane.
There's a chance Huni, ooh, that was a nice Q3 by Huni. There's a chance he has to use his teleport early in this lane, or he needs early jungle pressure. If a counter gank were to arrive at this moment, if Rainover actually does attempt this, it could be disastrous. This is kind of a Hojin special. Smith is up early, he gets into lane brush, and he waits there for a minute and waits for the counter gank. But because of the way the recalls are coming in, I think Smith called him off.
So we do see though in the mid lane why Fibbin wanted this Azir. He wants to constantly try and push in this mid lane over and over and over. We looked at him as a better mid laner than KOO, at least in the laning phase. And that's what he's going to try and take advantage of. But bottom lane as well, when there's a Tahm Kench, it turns into a farm lane. It's very, very difficult to make any aggressive plays because he will just eat that AD carry or he will be super tanky himself, so you can't really kill anyone.
Wow, it's going to be at farm lane you talked about. Very small advantage for Reckless. Hojin is going to pick a fight with Rainover over this Crystal Spire. Charge the slingshot, and Rainover says, nope, that one is mine, and will reclaim it.
Skarner is very strong when he gets close to you.
Yeah.
That is a fact of this game.
That was one of the things with how you can invade in if your mid laner is pushing, because Skarner 1v1, he is strong, especially against a Zac who's just going to be like, what, am I going to blob on you with my E and nothing?
He's already done like half as much
Great
damage.
riposte from Smeb. He will, however, get stunned, and all of a sudden, Huni turns it back around, forcing Smeb to blow his flash.
That's really big, especially since Rainover's already doing the jungle invading. Hojin's going to have to be fairly careful early on in the matchup.
Again, we see the strategy for Fnatic, always making sure Rainover can play aggressive, has a jungler he can outduel the enemy with, have a mid laner who's shoving the wave. So it's a good setup right now for Fnatic, but it was the same in game 1, even though they were just even faster and had even more aggressive lanes. That was not what won Fnatic the game, because they didn't win.
Nothing.
Funny enough, nothing won in the game. But it wasn't what lost in the game either, it was the bad calls later on.
Now, Huni and Smeb again going toe-to-toe. They're not going to find the follow-up vital. Falling a little bit behind in CS, but the wave is pushing towards him. And likely some info on Hojin's jungle path means that Huni's got some free time up here.
You know how people used to have like best Riven NA? I feel like it's more exciting to watch Fiora versus Riven. They should just have like a bracket of Fiora against Riven players. I love this matchup.
Make it a best of 3.
He's level 6 here and they know they have to flash down. But Smeb is also level 6, which makes this super dangerous.
There's a grand challenge available. Kuro TP to middle, as did Feathervin, so there's no support elsewhere. Gentlemen,
it's all about
first
the
tower
riposte here.
dive. Fnatic are 10 for 10 when it comes to securing first bloods. They're looking for number 11. Rainover forced to flash away. Tower shot will not be enough to kill him, nor will...
Rainover's got...
This it. Look at Kuro, who's coming up through the jungle. Huni still wants to get it. He's going to be in so much trouble, and Rainover fires the fracture. That was so close.
Just by Huni moving a bit closer to Smeb on the way out, he threatened a potential second dive, and Smeb was like, okay, I can't risk it. And therefore he couldn't kill Rainover, who just snuck by the tower. But that was so risky by Fnatic.
From the look of it, Smeb blocked the right amount of CC, and then Huni wasn't able to combo properly because he was stunned himself, so he couldn't get the quick burst out on Riven. Still keeps his CS advantage. It costs Rainover his jungle edge in order to do that game.
And his flash down as well. Reckless probably get eaten by Gorilla. No?
Not yet. Not quite tasty enough until now.
Close.
Gorilla will get knocked up and knocked back. He's flashing away. Grey health will get popped. It is decaying. Prey is stacking up those Rens onto Yellow Star. Summoner heal's been used. 250 HP. And both Flash and Exhaust down from Gorilla. Fnatic, they get the 2v2.
Yeah, they burn a lot of summer spells. I actually feel like if Reckless was feeling aggressive, he would have flashed for that kill on Gorilla, but he was afraid of a counter gank. He didn't have eyes completely on Hojin, I'm pretty sure, because with the shield going down, this is also why he saves his flash, just in case.
Well, Reckless sidesteps the elastic slingshot, and he will be able to make it out.
This is what I really liked about Reckless and Yellow Star's lane. They know their job in most Fnatic games is being utility AD carry. So flashing forward for a kill, yes, it might look good on paper, you get that 1 kill for yourself, but it means you can probably get ganked right after, and then Hojin suddenly gets 2 kills or 1 kill and a dragon for his team. So it's not really worth it in that sense, and I like that Rex just stays back and even dodges around.
This is actually dangerous. Huni is still up by his turret, and Feathervin's stunning himself.
Feathervin's in trouble. Rainover's got the blue buff, but now he's been challenged by Smeb, and Huni's a long way away. The challenge has been popped. First blood to Kuro, and double buffs.
You have no flash.
Massive for Veigar to get double buffs. Reignover doesn't have flash, and he can make that play if Huni is with him. Huni has the 1v1 edge, so to speak, on a Smeb, but there is a large mini wave at his turret. You can make that invade on the blue buff if the waves are pushed. Reignover again overreaches and again is punished.
As safe as Reckless and Yellowstar can play in the bottom lane, some of that needs to go over to Reignover soon. Because, yes, he's making some good plays, but too often, he wants too much. And honestly, it's fine sometimes playing simple League of Legends. You don't have to always go in and make that massive outplay, constantly tower dive the enemy team. You can play it fairly safe because you're right now winning both soul lanes. But now you just gave double buff over to the enemy mid laner. That's not going to help Febiven one bit.
It really will not. And if Huni continues this path forward,
Huni also has no flash. And Zach has amazing gank pass. Let's see if Huni respects this.
Oh, there's so much threat here for Huni.
He's afraid of Reignover potentially sitting in that bush. Normally a top laner will not be this aggressive with no summoners in pushing out a big wave unless he has his jungler right behind him, ready to join in.
Thank you, observers. You can see the hawk shot flying over the Sentinel, giving Fnatic some information throughout the jungle.
Flies through the whole map. When you're in the right position on Ashe, you can shoot it through every single jungle camp, which kind of, even if you don't see the jungle with it, tells you where the jungler should be.
Process of elimination. And
it's an immensely powerful skill, highly underrated.
we'll give it the attention it deserves, Jad.
You know how Clairvoyance used to see one spot on the map? It sees the entire enemy jungle on cooldown.
RIP Clairvoyance. So 1-0 in terms of kills. Fnatic still hold a minor gold lead, thanks to the CS advantages for both Huni and Febiven. Reignover's got access to his Impale, and his flash is about 15% away from being available.
I'd like to see Fnatic right now get a few pink wards down on the map to set up this scanner so he can go in for that one play once he has flash, grab a target, and you can burst him down very effectively, especially with the Riven up on top side. But it's very hard for him to path right now because there's been so many wards from creatures spotted. He does manage to sneak around up top here. Can make his way into the second one, and now suddenly Smeb is going to be like, I have no jungle help, so I'm not going to push it out like Huni did before, because I'm going to play it safe.
Very early advantages were to Smeb in the lower levels, but as Huni has started to scale up, seems to be finding the stuns and dancing around the ripostes.
A dangerous counter jungle.
Oh, this could be trouble. Enchanted Crystal Arrow is available. Yellowstar's gets it. It's about sending a message, gentlemen. This is my jungle, my camp, and my gold.
Every single game, Hojin falls really far behind the curve. Yellowstar is a higher level than Hojin right now, even after that Gromp steal.
But I'm a believer. KOO Tigers play from behind. It's their style, Jack.
It actually is. This is the way they play League of Legends. It is somehow working.
Perplexing.
In this day and age.
I think perplexing is a great word.
But at the same time, with this team composition, Fiora and Veigar, and Zach actually is a good late game jungle champion, they're pretty happy with this current set of circumstances.
All right, Huni gonna pick a fight once more with Smeb, and Grand Challenge throws down. Smeb flashes away from the third proc of the Broken Wings. Huni will find the stun, but fails the flash! And Smeb will be smiling with that one.
Remember the solo kill we talked about? That was probably going to happen in this game. It was right there, but it could have been outplayed by Huni. He had his flash when Smeb did not. He dashed towards the wall, but he fail flashed the thickest wall in the game, that when the pressure is on, we see players miss. If you have no pressure, you make that flash every single time. But Huni, after losing that game 1, makes another mistake in game 2.
And again, we keep highlighting how important it is for Fnatic to keep pushing those two solo lanes. Right now, you had a kill for Veigar in the mid lane because of Reignover's invade on blue buff. You have a kill top lane now for Smeb and Fiora. KOO Tigers is in a way better situation than last game, where they did outplay Fnatic in the later stages of the game. They look to do exactly the same, just not fall as far behind.
Yeah, and we have to see how Fnatic responds to this situation. In the past, Huni has been known to tilt after making a mistake. They've already lost the first game, which puts your mental edge on, puts your mentality on a little bit of an edge. Here, failing a flash over the wall in a matchup he should be winning, how much does Huni want to make up for that play right now? Because in the past, he has overcompensated and fallen into a giant pit of tilt. But we'll see. They're still close in this game, and they still have a composition which can win.
Well, both teams are in a situation where they can't really force any ganks because there have been so little vision in the enemy jungle. So they don't know where, if Skarner is hiding somewhere, if Zach is hiding somewhere to counter gank. There's no teleports available at the moment, so if you want to make a jungle gank, this is the time. But once again, because Raynova got burned before with the blue buff, he's not been invading since. He needs to get in there now and get a ward down, at least in the opening of KOO Tigers jungle. Yellowstar's doing the same to try and see, okay, can we spot the jungler and pull off again? Because if Zac shows topside, you can gank that bottom lane. You have double CC, you have an Alistar to tower dive. It's obviously difficult against a Tahm Kench, but it might be one of the plays you can pull off. You can see Hojin sitting ready to counter gank, as we just talked about. He doesn't want to go aggressive because he has no idea of where Raynova is, unless you spot him on that one ward near Raptor.
Well, also, Huni's not giving him the opportunity. So Huni is not trying to make up for the death he just suffered, and instead is playing very passive. But with the range on Zac's Elastic Slingshot, he's only level 7. He spent a lot of time hiding in a brush. How patient is Huni actually in this lane?
Oh, let's take a look. That slingshot was being charged, but Yellowstar's the man that's in a little bit of trouble. Gorillas pop that grey health shield. Hojin will get some of the cooldown back. Huni is dancing with death. He'll dash out. And still so close. Hojin's
Such
waiting.
a patient bait right here, because you would expect him to jump in after that last play. Huni's still suspicious, though.
And Huni makes that alive.
Can we just give full credit to Huni in this case here? Normally, he would have gone all in for that one-on-one against Smeb. Said, I'll get it back, man. I died before. I will get a revenge kill. But here, he played it super safe because his own jungler's on the bottom side, taking that dragon. So he knows... Close enough.
Good smite from Raynova.
But he knew, okay, there was no backup for him. He just had to sit super far back and wait. Let his team make some plays on the bottom side of the map. I still want to see them use this Alistar and Ashe to create a pick.
Needs to get back up eventually, though, because with that play top lane, they do get
Go for mid lane then.
Oh,
there we go.
Yellowstar flashes the baby cage, knocks Kuro into Raynova's waiting hands, and Febiven sends the soldiers for the kill.
The ultimate displacement from behind your mid turret to the middle of the lane. Nothing Kuro can do to stop that one. Good counterplay by Fnatic.
They did lose their tower top while securing middle, and Huni's gonna get funneled that big wave.
But this is one of the plays Fnatic could make away from Huni. That's again, when Fnatic run compositions where they can make plays on the bottom side, they tend to not rely 100% on Huni snowballing his lane. So even if he does fall behind, you can make a play elsewhere. They had controlling bottom side because Zac was sitting top, great invade in. Very little you can do as a mid laner when they're coming between two towers and knocking you so far back into the lane. You can't just abandon that because then you will lose tower anyway. So Kuro left in an impossible situation. Fnatic gets at least a tower.
Well, still keeping themselves relevant as far as Fnatic are concerned. They got that first dragon as well, so it'll give them a little bit of an edge as the game continues to progress. And Reckless was left alone in that mid lane. Praying Gorilla shoved the wave up, but Reckless has played far enough back to not be a threat of anything else. His tower only lost 10% of its hit points, so starting to see the Ashe build up towards an Infinity Edge, starting to slowly gain more and more strength.
And honestly, I want to see Fnatic continue to play around this bottom side of the map. Zac is not going to duel the Skarner in the one-on-one. Alistar is a very safe support to invade with as well because of his ulti, his natural tankiness, obviously. So you can go into this bottom side jungle of KOO Tigers and take control of it. Meaning that Kuro, sitting on his Veigar in mid lane with no tier 1 tower now, he has to sit a tier 2 tower and wait for minions. That gives full mid control for Fnatic, and then you can set up a dive on the bottom side.
And I will also say, the emphasis is on Fnatic to make a play. Because KOO Tigers, they have a game plan. We're pretty sure how they're going to execute it. Smeb is going to be split pushing. They're going to try and group with the rest of the team. And the siege potential with Veigar is awesome. But Fnatic has picked Huni. If he can somehow outplay Smeb, he can block that. When they group up as a team, when KOO groups up as a team, Fnatic would try and initiate with an Ashe Arrow. It is going to be KOO kind of executing their game plan and making Fnatic make the play, in which KOO has been able to punish in the past. It will be more on Fnatic's execution, in my opinion.
I really like this from Raynova, getting into that jungle now, plays towards Febiven. He's gonna have to be careful, he's getting out for now.
Wow, Febiven makes it out, and they commit Kuro's flash, as well as the Abyssal Voyage. That was a lot.
It was a 5-man gank and a flash on their most priority member in teamfights. That was way too much. This is kind of the reason KOO doesn't make plays very often.
And this exact same thing happened against KT Rolster, where KOO invested so much, but it didn't work out.
I just really like Fnatic's focus on this bottom side. I know I keep repeating it.
It's because they haven't done it a lot.
They see the gank happening, and also what happens here is Febiven had already killed the wave all the way down to the tier 2 tower of KOO Tigers, so even though he was forced out of the lane, there's no minions for KOO Tigers to just push to take mid tower. They'll be like, oh, the minion's already dead. Well, we're not going to get anything there to run out, end up losing everything. Fnatic had control of the side, they spotted happening. And this control Fnatic reminds me more of how SK Telecom likes to play against KOO Tigers. It's not the, oh, let's 5-on-5, just randomly tower dive and go super crazy all the time. No, we're gonna try and match some of the things KOO Tigers do well. We just remove the mistakes, because KOO Tigers plays around you making mistakes and then punishing you. If you play like this, it's very hard for them to do that.
Let's see if they can keep it up though.
Yeah, and the biggest example of that is Huni suffering the first blood death, but then staying
Unkilled further.
Right, he has not tilted at all here. I also like his build path this game because his previous games on Riven, he didn't go Tiamat. He instead went for Bloodthirster for some of the survivability. But it's so much more important to be able to have that quick burst of damage against someone who can riposte in your combos, and I love the iteration.
And the playing around bot lane will now make it top lane.
Hojin
Reckless has
Hojin's
moved
set
up.
though. Hojin is absolutely set up for this play.
They did chase him out the jungle though, so Reignover and Yellowstar will be aware.
How many legs does Skana have?
This one, none. It's
This one, none.
tank
Okay,
tracks.
okay, that's why he doesn't have boots. Okay, that makes sense now for Reignover. The way I look at Skana is he's a champion who needs mobility. He needs movement speed.
That was a joke.
It was. I'm sorry. Yeah.
See, it caught me off guard because I didn't know you could make jokes, Fisher.
I didn't know either.
Thank you. That was fantastically rewarding. Now I get why Freak does it all the time.
Yeah.
So
Still, get some boots, man.
Yeah, I think tank boots is the right way to go. I actually want him to build Mercury Treads during this game because he will be having to run through event horizons at some point during this game, and the magic resistance is actually one of his most stacked resources. I think if Fiora tries to kill him, he'll have an opportunity to ult Fiora and instead pull that in, so I think Smeb's going to keep his fair distance from Reignover. I think Mercury Treads should be his next item.
teleports are up for all 4 players that currently have it available, and Reckless hung about in that bush for a little while longer. That top outer turret for KOO is very, very low on HP, and things are just starting to feel a little edgy and nervous up here.
Well,
Still, Hojin is reading the situation correct. He's always nearby. Same in the last game. So when that massive gank could happen, he's waiting.
and KOO has the setup with the double teleport, so they're pushing their mid and bottom lane and they want to teleport. This time though, Fnatic also has the double teleport, and they recognize not to dive under the turret for this play. Instead, they're just playing it patiently and trying to punish Hojin for waiting for the aggression.
Double warding trinkets for both Huni and Reignover as well, upgraded already. We've seen them move into KOO's jungle to place wards multiple times. Reckless and Yellow, they really want to get this last tower. It's a couple of hits away, but this is quite risky. Gorilla's being chunked and Prey's going forward. Teleport's coming in here for KOO Tigers as Yellowstar throws up the Unbreakable. Reckless will find the Ash Arrow onto Kuro, but it will not be enough. 2 members of Fnatic down at the cost of 2 teleports for KOO, and KOO are not stopping.
Credit to KOO there for turning aggressive, not reacting to Fnatic. In that sense, Fnatic then had to react with both teleports, so a completely lost play for Fnatic. KOO gets the big play by catching out Reckless and Yellowstar.
One of the very annoying things to play against double teleport.
It's also Veigar, you gotta be careful under these turrets.
Or he can stun them up and maybe kill Reignover.
Reignover's down! Kuro gets the kill and will secure another tower.
But one of the problems when playing against double teleport is you don't know how many guys it's going to turn up. You see the animation. I'm not sure if Fnatic were trying to say, hey, we can maybe counter teleport here, because there's still 2 flashes up for Reckless and Yellowstar. They stayed around for a long time. Yellowstar maybe was just to sacrifice himself, saying he was going to get slowed down anyway. But then suddenly 2 guys appear, both Smeb and Foro, and Fnatic is too late to the party. 2 kills and a tower.
And once again, KOO punish Fnatic to regain the lead.
Yeah, let's see again what happens.
They ping Skarner, and then they know to go aggressive here, because honestly, it's completely on the double TP coordination. They thought it would be 1, it was actually 2. Reckless got the Ash Arrow. The second teleport cancels the first teleport's animation, which is why Reckless didn't have the right timing on Smeb jumping in, and it's actually why the Ash Arrow didn't hit. So really, the double teleport on the same ward is my favorite use of the double teleport, and it works out for me.
We'll give them another tower. 5 kills to 1, but Fnatic, you have to praise farming from Huni and Febiven, keeping gold very, very even. 300 difference between the top laners, 100 difference between mid laners, and that was a little close again, but Smite secures it.
We've seen this one before. Prey tries to steal it. Doesn't have the greatest amount of damage due to his low amount of AD though, when it comes to finding away that spear. Meanwhile though, Fnatic, once again, are in this situation where they really want to try and pick someone off, but because you're against double teleport and a Tahm Kench, it becomes almost impossible because there's so many ways for KOO Tigers to buy time and then counter gank it. So even though Fnatic has great tools to find that one pick, they haven't been able to use it. And they were just waiting almost for KOO Tigers to make an aggressive play. Which is funny enough, something KOO Tigers have done before. When they're pushed all the way back, they try and go for that double TP to turn it around and buy some time.
This time it works, and for Fnatic, that flawless style of play comes into a little bit of question. It wasn't exactly a game-changing move, but Fnatic are still showing they really want this last outer turret. They move 4 people up towards the top, and they've got a lot of vision around Baron.
And something that is really in the favor of KOO Tigers is the fact that KOO is at plus 191 on his stacking of ability power, and he's currently sitting at 600 AP. Pretty soon he's going to be able to press 2 buttons on Febiven and kill him dead.
This is in trouble. Rain over in Yellow Star. They've got caught out. Unbreakable Will's being used, and Hojin is trying to bounce all up in Reckless's face. Smeb is putting the challenge down, but look at Huni. He gets obliterated by Kuro. Rain over's in trouble. Baron Pit is where Yellow Star's trying to escape. He's forced to flash over the wall. 5v2 now. Baron is alive and may be able to get some hits down onto Smeb and Hojin. Fate's Call will be thrown onto Febiven, and Febiven finds the kill, but the Eventurizer locks him in place, and Prey will shut him down. Another sacrifice to stop Baron, but Fnatic again caught out of position.
Kuro 100% to zeroed Huni there, and he doesn't have Void Staff yet. Mind you, Huni has gone for cooldown boots, so if he gets hit by an Event Horizon, he has signed his own death certificate, because it will be crushed there by the Veigar. It's a flank fight. I think Fnatic was actually pretty happy with this one. They didn't have vision on the Veigar, and also he didn't see that Event Horizon, otherwise he wouldn't have walked into it. Boom, instantly killed. That then turns into a 4v5, and then it's actually on.
Sure.
It's on Febiven at this point to salvage.
Very, very classic situation though, where you're running to a team fight and you're looking at the fight and not your own character. So even if something happens around you, you don't have the time to dodge it. Get stunned, ends up dying for it, but really, a Veigar who got to just sit and farm and farm and farm. Jad, you talked about it just before. He's like 616 AP. He got ranked to ulti as well. So Kuro has hit the point where he can one-shot basically everyone on the side of Fnatic.
This is how you push. This is what they want to be able to do this game. It forces Fnatic into having to initiate, and they have 2 QSSs as well already.
It's so much more difficult for Fnatic when Rainover cannot even pull somebody in. Luckily, for Fnatic, Gorilla on that Tahm Kench does not have it yet, but we've seen supports pick up QSSs in the past.
I think it's good on Tahm Kench. If it is in a situation where you feel like you're going to get CC so you can't save a carry, I think QSS is perfectly fine to build on him. But Fnatic, again, they keep looking for that one pick. But because Tahm Kench is also in the game, if it's not landed on him, he will eat that guy. And that guy will then get out.
So KOO secure themselves another tower. Hojin is charging up the slingshot, and Yellow Star's gone forward. Reckless is in trouble. He's got no flash, but he's managed to back away. The Dark Matter drops and tags Fnatic. Arise the Sun Disk is what Febiven yells. There's something to fall back to, but Smeb is trying to fight Huni on the backline. Gorilla's grey health will keep him alive a little while longer, long enough to take out Reckless. Huni looks for one back, doesn't find it. Double kill for Prey as Huni gets one on the way out onto Kuro. 2 for 3.
That fight was all started because of preemptive usage of Event Horizon. That is a spell pretty much everyone is playing around in this matchup. Kuro used it, it didn't hit anyone. In the instant it expired, Fnatic decided to jump in for the fight. That was a really back and forth fight, and Febiven nearly peeled off as much as he could for Fnatic, and because he died basically while channeling his last soldier auto attack, it turned what could have been 4 deaths on KOO's side to a 1 fight.
Because you just see how Fnatic always trying to focus one Tiger together with the Ashe, with the Azir. But then what's going to happen is Gorilla is going to stay so far forward. Nobody wants to hit him because he's just an annoying Tahm Kench up in the front line. So he eats Hojin, make sure he doesn't die in the start of the fight, and he gets picked up by Prey. And notice how well they coordinate this one. There's 2 carries from Fnatic standing next to each other, down on the bottom and just outside of your screen. Smeb obviously playing well on top, but those 2 carries get locked up. Again, it's Gorilla in the front line, making sure his carries can get in there, deal the damage they need to win the fight for his team. And it's so difficult for Fnatic to kill this front line because it's a Zac with his passive and it's a Tahm Kench.
For Fnatic, keep running out of options. Great play by Smeb's Fiora, 1, 0, and 8. Managed to riposte so much damage in that previous fight. KOO have got control of the Baron Pit. They've got wards all around, and teleport advantage to Fnatic as Huni has his where Smeb does not. That's why Huni's probably pushing out that bottom line.
Yeah, still only 4 kills being able to get manufactured by Fnatic. KOO is doing a much better job this game of maintaining their early game, and now they get to absolutely execute their strategy, especially once KOO gets to Void Staff. I think Fnatic's window will close.
Huni probably has to get like a Hexdringer or something that maybe could save him. If he gets his own shield and a Hexdringer proc to avoid getting one-shot by KOO, otherwise he will have no impact in these fights.
Well, Hawkshot sees it.
They're going in for Fnatic. There might be the chance for them to turn it around.
Crystal Arrow does connect onto Smeb. The Event Horizon will lock Fnatic up. They've got
Time
Baron.
to fight.
They've got Baron indeed. Teleport's being channeled by Huni and Fnatic. They need to get something back. Yellowstar flashes forward, gets the knockup, but Hojin jumps back in. The Event Horizons come back off cooldown and is once again locked Fnatic out. Yellowstar's already down, as is Huni. KOO are looking for a rampage. Gorilla jumps forward. He manages to find another as Smeb's running down Febiven. Fnatic get aced and lose the Baron.
And we see the same things again. Fnatic trying to kill the front line, Tahm Kench, and of course the Zac. They end up helping each other. Gorilla eats, Hojin spits him out, and then Smeb also in these fights.
Smeb is so good.
He's so good in team
He is
fight
waiting
on this portal.
exactly for the moment where he is most vulnerable, and then he is stopping the damage. That's the master Fiora players are the ones who can do this. Massive death timers off Fnatic. That was the trigger Fnatic had to pull. They didn't have a better ward for Huni to jump in on, and KOO knew it. So KOO took that fight exactly as Fnatic was going to have to react, and they make it work.
Fnatic is losing the war when it comes to the carry sitting in the backline dealing damage, because against the Vega, who can just one-shot these targets and has this massive AoE CC stun. At the same time, Huni's not able to find a flank on the Riven. That's the way you can get in and kill the Vega or kill the Kalista. He's not able to do it. Again, let's just ignore the fact that Tahm Kench could potentially even save whatever carry that is and stop it from happening. So KOO Tigers pick and ban phase, first picking that for Gorilla, banning out junglers and so on, was really, really smart. Notice again in the fight, Fnatic, they have to sit back here and hit the front line over and over. No ward for Huni to teleport to flank. So now KOO Tigers is in the perfect situation. As long as Prey doesn't get knocked back and dies here, Hojin takes the damage. Gorilla is gonna eat him so he doesn't die. Okay, again, buy more time. Riposte coming in for Smeb at a beautiful time. And we just have KOO sitting on full HP still, picking whatever targets he wants, throw it back in Gorilla when needed, and you have that massive CC coming.
They get themselves 2 inhibitors, the Baron, their first dragon of the game, and KOO Tigers are in a commanding position to close this game out. Smeb got a GA picked up, but he riposted the Skarner ultimate in the mid lane earlier. He riposted a ton of damage in the Baron pit. And KOO Tigers are now barreling down the last remaining inhibitor. Event Horizon should make this easy as pie.
Yep.
And the tower's already down.
There's also no flash on Yellowstar's Alistar to find the right initiation. They're trying to poke as much as possible. Honestly, if KOO rushes this, it's Fnatic's only real chance. KOO should be super patient here. Sundisk burn, that was going to be used by Febiven if the dive were to happen. Now KOO's just going to smartly set up the split push with Smeb. And if that Event Horizon catches a single person, the game is over. The game may be over even if that doesn't happen.
Well, it certainly seems to be that case. Super Minions already pushing towards the Nexus turrets with the help of Smeb. Huni, wow, he just gets chunked down. He's going to throw out the QSS and it's going to have broken wings away, but Smeb has got so much damage. The Sundisk is out. The last remaining inhibitor is being dropped. And Fnatic are on their last legs. Their backs cannot get further up against the wall.
Yeah, I think that was actually a missed opportunity. The riposte was burned by Smeb and Rainova was in flash ult range. He might have been able to get at least 1 kill and stop the push. Huni could have died there as well. Oh, Fnatic, 3 waves of super minions that KOO is patiently trying to push in, but Baron is down, so maybe it relands.
Ever the optimist, Jats. This is just a matter of time until KOO knock down these towers. Hojin is going to threaten with the elastic slingshot. Huni gets away from the Event Horizon, but Nexus turret number 1 is being dropped. Hojin doesn't even need to jump in. Reckless has got the enchanted crystal arrow. He's not thrown it yet. Huni's looking for KOO, and he finds him, but at the cost of his own life. The Emperor's Divide will throw KOO backwards, and Prey's being tagged by the soldiers. Another Conquering Sands needs to get sent out. A nom 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 as Gorilla eats Smeb. Fiora's gonna get away. No GA popped, and Fnatic, they stand to fight another day with 1 Nexus turret remaining.
And you said it was over, quick shot.
You're the optimist, I'm the pessimist. It's how we balance out.
Yeah, it's still heavily in favor of KOO Tigers. 3 inhibitors down is something you almost never come back from. Although Fnatic did come back from 3 inhibitors down against AHQ in the group stage. Slightly different set of circumstances, though, Deficio.
Yeah. I mean, February has done it before. He's trying his best to do it again, but this fight really was Cooney finally getting a flash onto one of the carries from KOO Tigers. Gorilla wasn't nearby to save Kuro, and he ends up dying, and therefore they trade 1-for-1. Now that flash is gone for Fnatic, and they're still in this situation where super minions are coming every single lane.
Round 2 approaching. KOO looking to go up 2-0. This would be so huge for them.
This is why you bring in Froggen though if you're Fnatic. It's like, just kill these minions, man. Just farm, 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 farm.
The emergency sub.
That is your only way.
Oh, Huni.
Huni's in so much trouble. He's got no flash either. Valor will give some distance, but Kuro isn't going to channel Event Horizon until now. Febiven's caught out and he's been bounced on by Hojin. Impale's been used and Fnatic have managed to find prey. Now Gorilla's too far forward. Kuro's going to fall. Huni's got himself a double kill. Gorilla's trying to run away. Rainover is going to get the movement speed from his W and try to chase him down. Fnatic have held strong one more time.
Hawk shots him.
Rainover wants to get him. Gotta land the skill shot.
Well, it's going to put that chilling smite down. Rainover's going to carry on chasing with the crystalline exoskeleton.
Oh
Longest chase ever.
He lives.
And Gorilla gets out.
Fnatic again though. KOO Tigers move close. They want to kill that last Nexus turret. And Fnatic get a few more kills again onto the carries of the KOO Tigers. So the beautiful team fighting where they were sitting so far back and making it impossible for Fnatic to kill them. Twice in a row now. Didn't work for KOO Tigers.
KOO Tigers make a series of mistakes there. I think they were impatient. They did not need to fight that as early as possible. Azir is actually the best champion in the game at clearing 3 waves of super minions because his soldiers can hit so many of them at once. But even then, 3 waves of super minions in 32 minutes should take all of Febiven's time, and if you're just waiting until he's focusing the super minions, you can then find the fight. But KOO pushed up a little bit too far, twice in a row, and now have to wait on the next Baron.
Fnatic optimized the farming. Coming in with 3 lanes, pushing. You see every single member for Fnatic is ahead in farm, even Yellowstone. Is it enough though for Fnatic to move out now? They have to win this fight around the Baron, where they're walking into a river with 0 vision from the side of
Hawkshot is the
Fnatic.
only tool that they can use.
And Kuro can one-shot basically everyone.
Kuro's got plus 300 AP at this stage. His Primordial Burst deals 1,500 damage before factoring in your opponent's AP. Hawkshot number 1, fired. Hawkshot number 2, fired as well.
Kuro needs to have a fight where he's able to use his spells. If that happens, I think KOO gets the game. Fnatic is going to try and stop that from happening, though. KOO actually pretty low from the Baron start. Will Fnatic actually turn on Baron?
Teleports come in here for Huni.
They have to because of the supers in the other lane.
They're going to see how long can they play this out. Kuro and Smeb do not have TPs. Baron has now been started by Fnatic. They're trying to chunk it down. It's about 2/3 HP. KOO are looking to re-engage. The Asher is available. Baron secured by Fnatic, and Hojin's locked out. They've caught Smeb. Smeb's GA's been popped. Rainover and Huni trying to run the distance. They're trying to interfere. Smeb is down. Shut down by Febiven. Event Horizon will stop this fight. 1-for-1 and Baron to Fnatic.
Are you kidding me? Fnatic pulls out a miraculous fight, 3 numbers down, and they save their last Nexus turret.
KOO Tigers tried to just wait and wait and wait for the super minions to take down the Nexus turret, but Fnatic rushed the Baron, got it as well, forced the fight. KOO Tigers were once again not able to properly set up their defense with this big front line because they have to rush into Fnatic. 2 dragons for 2. That's not going to be the big thing in this game, at least not for the next 20 minutes.
It is now a winnable game for Fnatic. Obviously, they have no base left, but their inhibitors are back up, so if they do not lose another fight, their base is never fully reached. This is the moment where KOO needs to settle and go back to the split push, but this fight, let's go over it.
So let's see again what KOO Tigers are trying to do. They get forced back very fun. Smeb is on his own now against 2 carries of Fnatic and goes down. Yellowstone even going to go in to try and help. And it's now Rainover and Huni creating a frontline for Fnatic that is taking up all the time of the carries.
And poor Event Horizons by Kuro. He needs that spell to zone the team fights, but instead, Smeb is isolating himself against 2 other carries, and then he actually lost his GA within that fight.
There's still no defensive item for Reckless though when it comes to avoiding getting one-shot by Veigar. So 1 mistake from him in a fight, and he's dead.
Huni's trying to catch that Crystalline Spire, does get it. Teleport's available for KOO in a few seconds. Gorilla almost gets chunked out by those Sand Soldiers. Will that be enough for the tower? It looks like it. And Fnatic will take their 4th tower of the game at 39 minutes. Now there's no margin for error. Not only are we 40 minutes in with no base to fall back to, Smeb and Kuro can TP. If anything goes well, there's not deep wards. We've got to remember.
Reckless is getting flashed very, very soon. Again, he has the BT, that's his only defense, but that's not enough against these 2 carries who wants to try and kill him. So he needs that flash ready, but he needs to be so far back that he can't hit the tower because of the zoning from Veigar.
There is no zonies and no cleanse on Febiven, so if Kuro flashes, Qs, and ults, Febiven dies if those spells land. They have no margin for error on these pushes.
Fnatic have not had a margin at all. Smeb's off on the side, dancing with death in front of Rainover. Tower continues to get chunked out by those double. Can I take it back? They're dead.
One
Tower's not
dark
being
matter.
chunked.
He is at 1,062 ability power as of now on Veigar, and it will only get higher, plus 311 from his Baleful Strike so far.
Minion wave down in the bottom lane, though, has no one to answer it. Thank you, observers, and Fnatic will still get some cross-map pressure.
Smeb is on his way. So there's 2 low towers now that Fnatic might be able to get in the next push, but Baron should be gone. So we kind of reset once again. We have that situation where Fnatic is looking to win 2 or 3 fights to make sure they can then close out the game, where KOO Tigers is waiting for that 1 team fight.
Right. I also think it depends very heavily on the location of the fight right now.
Oh, for sure, and how many dies.
If the line of scrimmage stays where it's at, because if we look at the concentration of wards, that tell us the locations of the wards tell us where the game is being played. And currently the game is actually being played in KOO territory, which is miraculous. So if that's where the next fight happens within the vision of wards, which is what usually happens, one team fight for Fnatic does also win the game on their side.
Still just have to keep looking at 2 carries from Fnatic with no way of avoiding getting one shot by Kuro. Veigar is one of the few champions with 2 abilities with 1.0 AP ratio. W and ulti.
I am amazed that Kuro hasn't won the game yet. But fight after fight, 3 or 4 fights in a row, he has been ineffective on this champion. If Huni can flash, instantly burst him, like, he has the QSS and the Zonies this time. Yeah. But if they can at least delay the usage of his spells so he can't combo where he wants to, and if Rainover walks up with his giant tanky Skarner, I mean, he's still gonna die, but at least he would kill the Skarner, not a Squishy.
He does find Hojin.
The split push is key here. This is the way for KOO back in the game. They're resetting, and they're getting back to what got them here.
Huni can go up there, clear the wave though. Problem is the one-on-one against Fiora in the late game. Fiora probably outscales almost any champion when it comes to one-on-ones, except for random Tryndamere appearing or anything. Something we're not going to see, at least. Don't even know what will happen.
The point is made, though, Fisher. In this matchup,
could Tryndamere win?
Oh, there's a question for the ages and one that we'll debate at a later date.
Yeah, Tryndamere can also do that.
1 minute and 40 seconds until Dragon respawns. The goal difference is now swung to the point that it is completely even. One more mistake from either squad could be game-changing. For KOO, it's the matter of being 1 Nexus away from a finals berth, and for Fnatic, it's just evening out the series. So the pressure is definitely on Fnatic, hometown squad. Crowd is at their back.
That's
but
a dangerous
also adds
recall.
weight.
I absolutely agree, Quickshot. The gravity of this situation is massive. Spectre's Cal completed, Febiven close to Zoni's Hourglass, but it's not a Banshee's Veil and it's not a Zoni's. Those are the items Fnatic actually needs to have an offensive position in this game, but at the same time, they've won many team fights in a row without those items.
KOO Tigers definitely overextended with their carries. I'm sure they've been talking about that for the last 5 minutes now. How are we going to approach the next team fight? Are we going to wait for Baron? Make that same play we tried to make before, where we force Fnatic to walk in at the river, and this Event Horizon can basically almost cover the entire river placed by Korra and zone out the team, and then we take the Baron that way. The only reason they waited last time was because they had the super minions pushing on the bottom side. They thought they could take down a Nexus turret, and then Fnatic pulled the trigger and went straight for Baron.
Gentlemen, Hourglass completed for Febiven. Wards in the mid lane behind Fnatic, and Fnatic wards in the river if KOO decide to go for Dragon. But with Dragon in 20, Baron in 40, that is the objective. And again, if Fnatic are out of position, they can bounce back.
Yeah, KOO's 2 wards within the base of Fnatic are awesome right here, but this positioning,
this is scary.
Lead for some fights. Event Horizon down, but it's in a nice zone, so Fnatic can't actually push through it. They need to come with a pink ward in their base or something to stop this flank, because if Fnatic goes in for the Baron here, there's a chance Smeb actually just teleports in and kills all 3 inhibitors. They don't even need KOO to go in. Smeb just has to find Fnatic in a committed place, and because how quickly FLICKR can kill inhibitors, he'll get all 3.
I don't think there's ever been a team that has had this many dancers with Nexuses as Fnatic.
I want to see in this team fight here, if Yellowstar says, I'm going to one-on-one KOO. Because we might not be able to kill him with QSS and Hourglass, but if Alistar can headbutt him away, keep him busy, way back, save his own carries, that might be enough. They're going in now.
Febiven's in trouble. He's been bounced up, exhausted, and he's down. That's the last hope for Fnatic. Reignover's running away as Smeb zoning him. Reckless has got his shield popped, knocked up as Yellowstar kicks him away. Reckless goes down. Double kill for Prey. Reignover and Huni trying to get out, and Smeb still alive. The riposte will apply the slow. The knockup from Hojin Zach. And with Fnatic's base exposed, KOO Tigers find themselves another kill. Killing spree for Prey, and they're going for the Nexus.
So much has happened in these first 2 games, but both games are ultimately decided with Febiven dying in a fight without doing damage. He has played his heart out to keep them in these games, but he hasn't had quite enough, and this will be KOO going 2-0.
The deficit was too big, and KOO Tigers are 2-0 against Fnatic.
Wow.
This game, we saw a different strategy from Fnatic. They didn't want to try and go all in for these aggressive early plays. They ran teleport in the mid lane. The problem is, they're still making too many of these mistakes in the early game where KOO Tigers punish them, get 1-2 kills for it, and keep delaying the game and get past that early stage for themselves.
This was a game where Fnatic almost came back from having 3 inhibitors down. The emotional roller coaster that just happened can be absolutely devastating. Everyone who plays League of Legends knows losing is one thing, but almost having a miraculous comeback fall short is perhaps the most gut-wrenching thing that can happen to you.
And we just got to see KOO Tigers had 5-6 minutes to talk. How are we going to play this team fight? What is going wrong? They realize, okay, Febiven has an Hourglass, sure, that's fine. But as long as we can land a CC, he can't use it. And then you just saw KOO just flash forward to ult him straight away and kill him with the rest of his team. And that's how you win the fight for the KOO Tigers. Basically, their composition in the late game had a lot of different ways they could play out these fights. A lot easier for them to one-shot a carry on the side of Fnatic compared to the other way around.
Yeah.
And just a smart team fighting composition for the KOO Tigers. And again, they don't get punished early because Fnatic makes 2 great moves and then 2 bad moves. And we keep going like this, and that keeps the goal even.
So I feel like KOO Tigers was actually winning the early game in a lot of ways. They made a lot of the smart moves in the early game, which I think gave them an edge. They were up something like 12 kills to 4, and they even made aggressive teleport plays in the early and mid game and started getting them that lead. And then with that one play, they turned on their split-pushing like grind game, and they just destroyed. But then they made a lot of really big mistakes in the late game, which was the opposite of what we'd seen before. This series could actually be 2-0 in either direction, which that's honestly what Fnatic needs to remember, and it's what KOO needs to remember to keep them focused.
The thing that is great, it is one of the more competitive series that we have watched thus far. The final team fight, there was no mistakes, though, from the KOO Tigers. Let's pull that up onto your screen.
Yes, please.
And, of course, Hojin on this Zac, engaging from so far away. 0-0-13 at the end of the game.
It's why he picks the Zac. He knows he's going to sacrifice his own early game by picking it, but once we get to these late game teamfights, they're playing around anyway, and they're playing around punishing your mistakes early to mid to get to late game. It is so powerful.
Yeah, and just, you can't have perfect vision control in this area at this stage of the game. Look at the range on that elastic slingshot. And then the instant flash is what's so important, because Febiven needed to reaction flash that before it landed. That's the only way he stays alive in that situation.
And even then, he's just stuck in the front line in an Hourglass. He gets out and he probably gets stunned by Event Horizon or something. But KOO Tigers, beautiful chaining of the CC. Zac goes in with Slingshot, then ulti, then Gorilla gets thrown in, keeps him up in the air, and then flash forward from KOO just to kill him. I mean, there's so little you can do at that point, and that's just the composition from the KOO Tigers that have so many more ways of playing late game teamfights.
So well played. KOO Tigers 2-0 up. And just take a closer look at the entire match, we're going to head to the analyst desk.
Thank you, gentlemen. 2-0 is right, and they're very correct in that this series is much closer than it appears based on the score. I want to go all the way back to the beginning, though. Champion select, Skarner, is the first thing of many that I want to look at.
I really liked the KOO Tigers draft here. If we take a look, they prioritize that Tom Kench, take it immediately, and that's going to deny a lot of options for any kind of engage with an Ashe Arrow or anything like that. They take the Zac again, obviously very confident in Hojin's ability, maybe not in the early game, but at least to play the team fights. We saw how well he ulted onto Febvin in that last fight. Then the Skarner comes out, and how do they answer it? Veigar. Instantly take that champion because it shuts down everything that Fnatic wants to do. Not only that, they get 2 early QSSs onto the Veigar and onto the Kalista, but just the way they set up team fights, okay, the arrow comes in. Event Horizon goes down. There's no follow-up. You can't get in there with the Skarner. Too many QSSs. There were so many ways for KOO to play the team fights and very limited engage options from Fnatic.
Yeah, I agree here, Monte Cristo, on the engage, especially if you look at that Azir picked second rotation on purple side, so very early pick. Arguably your strongest member there is Febvin, so you really want to get him a matchup, but in these team fights he really couldn't, or Fnatic rather, couldn't play the way Azir is supposed to be playing, which is kite, zone control around objectives, let people come to you and just face the wrath of those soldiers, but every time Fnatic engaged, Febvin really couldn't contribute much in the fights until the later parts, but then they were already lost, so they're playing a team composition or strategy where they kind of dive into the backline, but KOO denies that entirely with their champ select and does that kind of better on their own. So it was incredibly hard for Fnatic to play out of this. And then in addition to that, KOO just played the mid game better with their teleports.
Well, I think when you see the Tom Kench, you're automatically not going to go for a dive pick comp. You already lose instantly because the Tom Kench just completely screws that up. So I think the Azir pick is fine. I think the way they played around their picks was their undoing. Like Skarner, argue about that all you want because I don't like it. But with the Ashe, you're not going to use Ashe Arrow to engage because you're not going to get your target. The thing is you still can kite with Azir Ashe. You outrange both Veigar and Kalista. The one thing is that what they weren't doing is Riven wants to go in and Skarner wants to go in. And now they're trading, like the top's going in, and then now it's like a Riven chasing a Kalista compared to a Fiora chasing an Ashe. Like, that sucks. Why don't you just kite back and then Ashe Arrow when they overextend? I think they just played the fight just really, really strange and just didn't play it slow enough.
Well, and also, too, KOO somewhat surprised Fnatic. 21 minutes into the game, KOO flipped things on their head. They went aggressive onto Fnatic, and they were slow to react to this gank in the top lane.
Yeah, that was definitely really the turning point, and we have a replay of that coming up later, as well as we just have a look at the KOO guys here. Yeah, pretty calm and collected. And this is where the KOO does it well. They know where Reignover is on the Skarner. They go aggressive, and the teleports come in first, and Jad talked a bit about this as well, double teleport on a single ward. Now we see not Prey, actually, Gorilla bending the bullet here, going around the side there with the Fate Skull. And he has actually been doing that fantastically in a lot of these situations where he has multiple men knockups with that Fate Skull, and it's actually sometimes relatively hard to do in the middle of the chaos. So really props to Gorilla there for what he's landing, but KOO is ahead of the play. They're the ones initiating it, they have the full vision, they set the teleports down first, and there was almost no way out for Fnatic there, so lack of proactivity a little bit here on Fnatic and being punished for not getting anything done.
Well, the best part about KOO doing this is it's super unexpected from KOO. They've been playing really slow until the late game, and now when they start this, Fnatic has to instantly respond, and not just respond quickly, but correctly.
Yeah.
So Fnatic's in a really bad spot the second they push up to that tier 2 turret without their jungler, without wards to TP on. So once they get in that spot, regardless if they knew it was happening, they just weren't ready for it at all. So even if they instantly respond, they're already out of position.
Yep. I mean, too, as well, actually, what's interesting is that you mentioned they have to execute properly in that scenario because Yellowstar had a ward, right? They did TP. They had both TPs available, but that is so much information that needs to be passed and then decided upon so quickly, and they were caught off guard because they'd been the aggressors in the past.
And that's why it's always better to be on the offensive, right? Because you're the one deciding. You already have everything lined up in your brains, and the other team has very little time to react.
Now I want to push ahead to a place where Fnatic was proactive and made a very strong and bold decision. Baron dance, push KOO off of the Baron with super minions pushing in their bot lane against them.
It's a beautiful call.
This was a beautiful call.
Yeah, so we see right here, just taking it, and they are going to actually initiate this fight. So Gorilla just trying to zone right now, but this is pretty greedy of KOO right here. They're going to take a lot of damage. Smeb tanking the Baron at first, probably not the best idea.
Yeah, in this situation, the burden of the outplay is on Fnatic, and look at, the cage going down here. This just gives Fnatic a 10-second window, I believe, at this point in the game, Veigar Cage, where they need to make a call. They get the crystal, Cage is about to come up, but they have the zone control, and now Fnatic's a little scared of what's going to happen. The only play they can make here is do the Baron, but it takes so much guts to make that call here at the World Championship, and then, honestly, Kuro should find a way. If people are bunched up like this, place the Cage at the entrance, somehow this is a horrible cage here from Curry because it doesn't really achieve anything you want to do in these fights. And then Fnatic with some fantastic kiting to round out that fight.
Yeah, I think the way the call started off was they actually sent Fiora to the mid lane. So this was a reaction call from Fnatic. And it was a reaction call that looked like they're the ones being proactive, but the whole time they're waiting, like, is anyone mispositioning? Boom, Fiora shows up mid, they take Baron, and it's like, now they're just doing awesome stuff.
One thing I still want to touch on, what I think Fnatic should do better is just get back to a sidestone on Reignover. Really just get more information with wards. Fnatic in the European LCS thrived by just using wards efficiently and then getting a little extra teleport angles. If you're playing double teleport, the value of that second sidestone definitely goes up. So the more wards you have, the more angles you can make it play, because late game it's so hard to get behind people. We saw the value of one single, not even a deep ward, lane ward in the top lane that facilitated that play that we had on the replay earlier from KOO. Those are the things you want to be looking for.
Well, it's 2-0 now, but both of these games have been incredibly close. Keep it tuned right here because our coverage from Brussels continues with Game 3 of Fnatic versus the KOO Tigers. As we go, a reminder that World Championship Summoner icons are only available until the end of the tournament, so be sure to spam those emotes and support your team before they're disabled on November 5th. We'll be right back as Fnatic fight to stay alive, so don't go anywhere.
Smith flashes away from the third proc of the broken wings. Huni will find but fails the flash. But Smith is trying to fight Huni on the backline. Gorilla's grey health will keep him alive a little while longer, long enough to take out Reckless. KOO are looking for a rampage. Gorilla jumps forward. He manages to find another as Smeb's running down Febiven. Baron secured by Fnatic, and Hojin's locked out. They've caught Smeb. Smeb's GA's been popped. Reignover and Huni trying to run the distance. Reckless has got his shield popped, knocked up as Yellow Star kicks him away. Reckless goes down. Double kill for Prey. And KOO Tigers are 2-0 against Fnatic.